Hello, friends and family and kindred souls. My name is Angus, and I'm recording this today as an act of love, an act of Seva or selfless service in memory of my mother, Ruth Elisabeth Hamilton, who passed peacefully on the morning of January the 4th, 2026. I'm sharing this not just to mourn her, but to celebrate the profound journey we took to find each other again. There's a concept in the practice that I do called lived experience, and it means we don't learn about life just from textbooks. We learn by walking through the fire. For a long time, my life was defined by a struggle for wellness. There were years where I couldn't even read a book. My mind was too chaotic, my spirit too weary. But on the day of my mother's passing, a profound synchronization happened. I had just regained my ability to read full books by practicing chapter to chapter. I had just finished the final chapter of this book called Polishing the Mirror by Ram Dass. And at the moment that she was transitioning, I was in a virtual training space with somebody named Dr. Daniel Fisher, who's part of the National Empowerment Center. And I was experiencing a third round of training for something that's called emotional CPR. So I'm always learning how to breathe with others in crisis. Um, and in that moment, I was learning in real time as she was taking her final breaths. I believe it wasn't an accident. I believe it was a lesson. It was her final gift to me, a confirmation that we are not separate. As Ram Dass says, we are all just walking each other home. So today I want to share a story of how we walked each other home. So to understand the beauty of the end, I have to be honest about the middle. Like many of you, my relationship with my mother wasn't always easy. We navigated a lot of trauma. For me, part of that is religious trauma. Growing up, the concept of God was often used as a tool of judgment, a way to control rather than to connect. That structure fractured my sense of self, and for a time, it partly fractured my connection with my mom. I had to leave that structure to find my own spirit. I found healing not in the pews of the churches and organizations that harmed and rejected me, but in the energy of cultivating Reiki, in the flow and lessons of the Tao Te Ching, and in the realization that spirit is bigger than any single religion. I learned that we are free from religion, but we're also free to choose the stories and paths that serve our higher power, free to choose religion when meaningful. Then came COVID. The world locked down. The distance between us highlighted physical as well as emotional. It was a traumatic time for the collective world and for our family. The isolation was deafening, but in that silence, I made a choice. I chose radical acceptance. I realized I couldn't change the past and I couldn't fix her beliefs or our history. I could only work on my side of the street, so to speak. I had recently become a co-facilitator for RAP, or the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. RAP isn't just a program, it's a philosophy that says there's no limits to recovery. It taught me that I am the expert on myself, and it proves to me that you are also your own expert. And I choose and chose to learn with mom side by side as her own expert, trying not to hold her accountable to what I didn't understand or even anything that had happened to me. So I remember the moment clearly. She had come to visit me in my home in Ottawa. I opened up to her. I didn't argue. I didn't go to rehash the past. I simply handed her a copy of this book, a copy of Rap. I said, in essence, here's what I'm doing to save my own life. Here's my blueprint and a way that you can help me to help myself. Maybe it can help you too. That was the turning point. It was an offering of vulnerability. It was me saying, I'm not a professional looking down on you. I'm a peer. I'm your son, and I'm walking this path too. I needed her to see that I wasn't trying to get kudos. I was trying to prove she mattered, just like my dad mattered. And I could acknowledge how triggering it might be, considering I am very similar to my dad. So that reconnection opened a door I thought was sealed shut, and it opened my mind again. After years of being unable to focus, I began to read a single chapter each day as part of my personal practice. I began on December 27th, 2025, and I dove into these two very specific books by Ram Dass. The first one being How Can I Help? And the second one being Polishing the Mirror. Reading them felt like drinking water after a long drought. And as I read them, I realized they were giving me a map back to my own heart, to her heart, and surprisingly back to a copy of the Bible, a wonderful gift from my cousin, and a source for the family that my mom craved. So, in How Can I Help, Ram Dass talks about the helping prison. He explains that when we help someone because we think we are good and they are needy, we kind of trap both of us. We create separation. I realized long ago that I had been trying to fix my mom. I wanted her to see the world my way, but Ram Dass taught me natural compassion, acting not out of duty, but out of the unity that connects us. Then in Polishing the Mirror, he talks about sadhana, spiritual practice. He says our hearts are like mirrors. They're covered in the dust of our egos, our roles, our traumas. We don't need to throw the mirror away. We just need to polish it so it reflects love. So my mom had kept this Niv Gift and Award Bible that at one point had been gifted to my cousin and her family, Easter weekend of 2006 by friends of theirs, which is such a wonderful gift. Because of the healing that I have found in the Tao Te Ching and Ram Dass, his teachings, and those of Maharaji or Neem Karoli Baba, I was finally able to open up the book again without fear of re-triggering old wounds. I looked at it through the lens of what is called personal medicine, another tool I've acquired, taking what works for my wellness with the key point of, our personal medicine are things that we do, not just things that we take or consume, right? Um, and so I found First Corinthians, verse chapter. Hold on, work with me here. Let's see. So First Corinthians 13 and 13:12. Okay. The main heading under First Corinthians 13 is love. And so it reads, now we see but a poor reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. I'm going to continue and add 13. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. I realized my mom and I were both just looking in dusty mirrors. We were doing our best. I also found the Second Corinthians 3 and 6. It says, he has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. So this was the healing of my religious trauma, the letter, the rules, the judgments, the institutions. That is the trap that Ram Dass talks about. But the Spirit, the love, the connection, the Seva that gives life. So I realized my mom wasn't her dogma. She was a spirit trapped in a role, just trying to find her way home. So, which brings me to January the 4th, 2026. And I was in my third round of training for emotional CPR with the National Empowerment Center. So ECPR stands for emotionally CPR, and it teaches us three things: connecting, empowering, and revitalizing. So the core teaching of ECPR is resonance. It teaches us to listen with our eyes, our ears, and our heart, a concept the Chinese call ting. As I was sitting in that training, learning how to hold space for others without trying to fix them, my mother was taking her final breath. I finished the last chapter of polishing the mirror that night after completing the training with amazing support and navigating the steps needed to care for Mom's physical body and my family's need to restore their own hearts in peace while grieving in real time. Ram Dass writes about dying not as a tragedy, but as a taking off of an old tight shoe. It is the moment the soul finally escapes the trap of the body and the ego. So, because of the soul work that I feel we have done or we had done, because of that wellness recovery action planning book and those blueprints, because of the boundaries we softened, and because of the radical acceptance, I didn't feel things were left unsaid. I felt quite affirmed and proud of my mom and thankful that she was able to achieve her goal of reconnecting after so many years. In ECPR, we talk about the phoenix. We learn that from the ashes of our own personal crisis or distress, the spirit rises. So my mother's spirit has risen. She has polished the mirror completely. She's no longer looking at a dim reflection. She's seeing God face to face. And because I was in that training, I was supported by a community of peers. I was held in a space of WeCPR, community support. I knew that even in my grief, I had the tools to revitalize. So why am I sharing this? I share this as an act of love for my Nana and Papa, my mom's parents. I share it for my mom and for my aunties, my cousins, and for the chosen family who have held me up when it felt that parts of my biological family couldn't. In our passing, we are all learning of the love, support, and the family that exists, even in the fog of our complex worldviews and new digital realities and challenges. So I share this to tell you that resilience is real. Recovery is real. You, like me, like many people, can heal from trauma. You can heal from the wounds of religion, and you can still find a deeper sense in God. You can be free from the institution and yet full of the spirit of love, respect, and peace, and something higher than all of us. So, my invitation to you is to find your own personal medicine. What is the thing that you do that makes you feel alive? Is it being of service? Is it reading? Is it nature? For my mom, she loved to play video games. She loved to play on her device, which she would bring over to my cousin's place and play as a family, but also to low key get them to help her achieve new levels in the game so she could go further and have different experiences. My mom loved to exist adjacent to groups. She was terrified of groups herself, and she would highly get caught up in her thoughts and her feelings about her own worthiness. But she really, really did love living with other people and having access to community in a way that was safe. And my mom loved animals. So her personal medicine was often pouring love and treats and snuggles and just about anything she could out of just about any animal she could find, especially dogs and deer. So, what is that thing that you do? Do it. Do it for mom. Do it in the memory of Ruth Elizabeth Hamilton. I found another scripture, and it's Isaiah 40:31. And it's under uh, the headline of Comfort for God's People. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. My mom is soaring now. She's free. So thank you for letting me share my lived experience with you. Thank you for walking my mother home. And thank you for helping me walk home too. Namaste. Ram Ram. Amen. So Ruth Hamilton passed away peacefully at home in Owen Sound on Sunday, January the 4th, 2026. Born in Owen Sound on October 2nd, 1949, Ruth Elisabeth Hamilton was in her 77th year. Cherished mother of Joe Hamilton of Stratford and Angus Wright of Ottawa, lovingly remembered by her stepchildren Sharon Jones, Gord Wright, Jack Wright, Fred Wright, Danny Wright, Gary Wright, and Lois Marshall, and their beautiful children and grandchildren, all originating from Owen Sound. Dear sister of Marion Tetro of Halliburton and Dorothy Cutting of Owen Sound. Ruth will be missed by Pauline and Troy Emerson of Owen Sound, Rebecca Holmes and Nathan Lawton of Halliburton, and many nieces, nephews, family, and friends. Predeceased by her parents, Streak and Madeline Hamilton, and her sister, Marie Ruthven. In keeping with my mom's wishes, a cremation took place, and arrangements were entrusted to the Brian E. Wood Funeral Home in Owen Sound. In lieu of flowers, memorial donations to the Owen Sound Animal Shelter are appreciated, and online condolences can be sent to my mom's family and friends by visiting her memorial at www.woodfuneralhome.ca. Thank you, everyone.